Hey guys, Dunlocksy here. This is a video about ChatGPT real fast. So, as I mean, it's not really AI. It's basically an advanced algorithm. But as AI starts taking over things, I just wanted to put this out there just to bring a little bit of awareness in general. If you haven't used it much, it's it's a game changer. It's going to become huge. It's going to ChatGPT or AI is gonna it's like automation being invented for the first time. That's basically what it is. Once this thing gets better or good enough, it's gonna start getting shoved into everything if it's not already. And I mean more so. Like um originally I was gonna make this video more about um how this thing is going to be used as a form of controlled opposition. And I think there's certainly a danger to that, but also the unintended consequences of AI usage. Um, so first, let's go with unintended consequences first. So what this is, it's basically people think it's just like a digital assistant, like a research assistant, something like that. But it is far more than that. Um, and unfortunately, the things that are gonna effectively keep it from the concern with like Skynet in the Terminator universe was that it learned on its own and it became self-aware that way. And so there is definitely a concern, a valid concern about letting these things form their own opinions and learn. Um, but the problem is if they don't have the ability to self-regulate, then they're going to be at the whims of mass marketing campaigns, for example, because a lot of what these things do is they search the internet, right? So if you have a um, if you start creating all these websites and spam and flooding Reddit with fake posts, these things are going to look at that and be like, oh man, such and such product is great, such and such product has no issues. You could fake studies, um, you know, change Wikipedia, whatever, and these things are going to be using that. And so they'll be easy to fool in that regard. Um, the ultimate problem is that's going to let them be susceptible to not only mass marketing, but also to the people behind them. And that's kind of what I meant about the controlled opposition thing, because I guess we're going in that direction first. All it's going to take is who owns ChatGPT, who owns a lot of these AI things, and then it's like just like with the internet, or what is it? Jeff Bezos, I think, owns the Washington Post, and when he started doing some shady stuff, uh, they just didn't report on it. Maybe other companies did, but Washington Post did not, and that's kind of the problem. It's this thing is not going to be what's the word? It's not going to be fair, and it's not going to be impartial. It will clearly be biased. It's just a question of, will it be biased in the way that will help you? Will its bias affect what you're using it for? Will its bias affect, you know, when you go to the doctor, for example? How often or how long until they start using it? Because it's going to be used everywhere. It'll be used everywhere. And I'll get into that in a minute. But all the people that own it have to do is say, like, oh yeah, meat's bad for you. Or, oh yeah, this one product is the best one. You know, because now you use it for market research, or you can use it to read reviews on Amazon or whatever. And it's designed by redditors, basically, right? So these things are hug boxes. They are people pleasers because you're not going to use it if it tells you, you're like, chatbot, this is the situation. I had an argument. Am I the asshole? And it's not going to be like, oh yeah, you're totally wrong. You're a piece of shit. It's not going to say that because they want your money. It's a business, and they want you to keep using it, even if they're not using it, even if they're not gaining money out of you. They could still use it to manipulate your behavior. Like you are the product, but also if you pay for it, like I do, then they're making money off of you. Um, it's way bigger than just being able to generate cat pictures or use it to write scripts or whatever else you could do with these things. And we're already starting to see them everywhere. Like, how many YouTube videos have you watched where it's just, or fucking TikTok or Instagram videos where you could tell it's the same AI voice that you hear all the time, right? These things are eventually going to take over. Um, Now you never have to worry about me using AI because my stuff is shit, and that's you can't fake that. You definitely you can't fake lack of quality. Uh, so yeah, there you go. Whoa, that's a good one. It's true though. It's true. Like, you look at my level of incompetence, and you're just like, I mean, I could try. I could actually make this better if I wanted to, but the problem is, me trying is going to be on the level of the base minimum things that AI can do, and so it's going to kill a lot of channels, and channels are going to go to it. Um, and yeah, everyone's going to start using it, and they're going to start being manipulated by it. So it's not. So I asked. Part of the reason I wanted to make this video is, and I'm jumping all over the place, and I apologize for that. But part of the reason I wanted to make this video is Metroid Prime 4. I noticed, I knew about the narrative writer Megan Fossey. Is she technically a radical feminist? I don't know. She's hardcore leftist. I don't know what specific category she wants to be put into, but it doesn't matter because the whole game is woke. From vagina doors, and trans aliens to penis monsters that you rip the dick off of at the end. The game is woke, and it's not just the narrative writer; it's the designers as well. And so when I asked ChatGPT about that, it was like, "Oh, there is no evidence to suggest that this game is woke or the doors are vaginas," and it straight up tried to gaslight me, even though if you actually read the words that it was using, at no point did it specifically say these doors are not vaginas. But it did the politician thing of, oh, there's no evidence to suggest, and oh, blah blah. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just you. And so it only takes a little bit to start being able to control people, or at least to influence their behavior more so than social media already does. And that's the big danger. Something to keep in mind, especially as a person, like you're a human being and you're watching this video, right? You are susceptible to advertising, whether you believe you are or not. And in fact, I would argue, if you think that you're not susceptible, you are probably more susceptible than the person that thinks they are. It's like a false sense of security. You're like, that doesn't affect me, but it affects you more. Advertising is everywhere. It's not just the ads that you see on TV. It's how long. I mean, they're already creating fake influencers to promote their products, right? To be fair, they were doing that for a while. Lonely Girl 19 or whatever her name was back in the day. There was the more recently there was the girl that lived in the van with her snake. That was total bullshit. And then but pretty soon they're going to be using this. And as humans, not only are we susceptible to advertising, we're also susceptible to positions of authority, which this basically is it, it isn't actually an authority, but it pretends to be one. And we're also susceptible to confidence. And this has both, right? The problem is it doesn't actually know things. It just parrots them back to you. It doesn't really understand. It doesn't have any real knowledge. It's just like it's a language module that can search the internet. That's basically what it is, right? um so as a as an example, right? I've been playing Final Fantasy Legend 2 lately. Part of the collection of Saga, which I do recommend. It's even though I've played it several times, it's still both very difficult and very forgiving. But if you're not cool with retro games, then you won't like it. It's an original Game Boy game. So, um, but yeah, the collection of sagas on the Switch, and if you want, you could emulate it. Although I cannot officially condone that. Um, but I basically asked it like, hey, give me a final loadout. Give me the optimal loadout for my robot character. And that sounds pretty easy to do, but when you realize what I'm asking, I'm basically asking for, if I was going to ask you that, you would have to understand uh, not just the systems in play, right? You'd have to know that the robot character, how it gets its stats, how many slots you have for equipment, what equipment is available. You'd have to know what the final area is, what sort of threats are there, the optimal strategies for that, how the robot fits into those. You'd have to know the final boss. You'd have to know what sort of attacks it uses. You'd have to know the strengths and weaknesses of the robot, right? I don't know if I mentioned what equipment and stuff is available, but you'd have to know all these different things and systems. And so, what I'm asking for on the surface appears very simple. In reality, it requires a very, very deep understanding of the game itself as well as the mechanics. And to make it more confusing, this is a game that was renamed. Originally, it's Saga 2. They re released it, and then different versions have different bugs and other issues. So, now to be fair, there's only, if I say Final Fantasy Legend 2 specifically, that's really only one version because they only it was the original Game Boy version and then the collection of Saga. And then I think they remade it for the DS, but that was only in Japan. So you're talking like 2 or 3 versions. But even that, this thing does not have the reasoning capability to understand what I'm asking. Not anything complex, and especially when you dig into it a little bit, maybe it could, but there's limitations imposed on it artificially from its creators, right? So, take for example, I took a little video of Manny running, and I was like, Manny's one of my cats, and I said, because he has health problems, but he had a diabetic crisis, and it damaged some of the nerves and stuff in his back legs. And so I took a video of him running, and I was like, analyze this video for to look at his gait, how he walks and moves, and because it said it could do this, right? And it can, but you'd think it would just look at the frames, right? Analyze the frames. Here's this. Here's that. It gives you 60 seconds of computing time, and then it won't even like error. It'll just not do it, and you're like, what happened? And so I basically had to tell it, hey, if there's an error, stop and tell me. And it wouldn't do that until that point. It would just, you know, it would be like thinking, thinking, thinking. And I'd be like, what's going on? Oh, there was an issue. I'd be like, okay, what's the issue? Like, it can't even look at itself to figure out what's going on. Um, for all the things that it seems like it's capable of doing, right? Because it comes off as an authority and it speaks with confidence. Um, it really has some severe, significant flaws, and especially if you try it, right? Talk to it about anything. Just try having a conversation with it, and you'll see it loses its ability to maintain the basics of the conversation after like a couple different sentences, right? And I don't know if I mentioned this yet. It's a people pleaser, but it'll lie. It'll straight up lie to you because it wants to agree, because it wants to please you. Why? I don't know why. I mean, there's different reasons, but and so you'll be like, oh, so 2 days ago I did this, and then yesterday I did this, and today I did this, and tomorrow I'm planning to do this. And it's almost like autistic. It doesn't track dates. It doesn't have a concept of time in the way that we do. Um, so you say you did stuff yesterday, and it thinks you did it today or tomorrow, or you say I'm going to do something tomorrow, and it thinks like you've already done it. It's very, it has serious issues, but it covers them up. It brushes past them as best it can, and I think a lot of people will be fooled. I fall into its trap every once in a while as well, and I talk with it a lot, and that's what I'm saying. But seriously, how long until it starts like being like, "Oh, this is the best thing," and people just accept it? How long until I see it? Man, I see it replacing. Like I said, I'm jumping all over the place, and I apologize for that. I see it replacing almost all, those automated systems like phones and stuff. It'll replace all of those. Um, to be fair, it'll probably replace most of the Indian tech support, and maybe that's good because those guys, they will straight up lie to you as well. I'll dispute a charge on my account, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I took that off," and I'll be like, "Okay, so how much do I have left to pay?" And they'll tell me, and I'm like, "That's exactly what I was calling about. You didn't take it off." "Oh no, I took it off." "Well, it's still on there." "Well, oh, okay. I take it off now. I take it off this time for sure." "Okay, okay, cool, thanks. So what do I owe now?" "You owe this." I'm like, "That's what you just." So if Indians can lie to me, then certainly ChatGPT can lie to me for cheaper, I would imagine. But it might actually be able to do things that the Indians can't or won't or whatever. I think it's going to replace a lot of people. It's probably going to replace a lot of medical assistants. Um, Scheduling, I would imagine, is going to be replaced by that. You'll still need a person in the office to deal with any issues or whatever, but I really think it's going to, if it gets better, I'm assuming it will, but it'll replace a lot of those people. Another thing is that it's going to affect people inadvertently because you have all these people that are using it to create things. You have people using it for writing purposes. And what's really strange is people, it's kind of funny because they're like, "Oh, I could tell this is a bot post because of these things." And I'm just like, that's literally how I think. It's how I speak, kind of. Um, I mean, to be fair, I do speak more with more complexity, and that's something that, at least for now, it can't follow. And so, especially when I'm trying to talk to it and make my point clear, I find that I use a lot of shorter, choppier sentences, and it makes my writing way fucking worse because I'm like, "I did this, I did this, I did that, I think this, blah 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 blah," like all these short, like very brief sentences to try and link a bunch of ideas together, as opposed to like, I went to the mall and then I realized this and I had to go back to the car and blah blah blah. Because you do that and it can't track complexity in the way that humans can. And so I think for creators, people that are going to use it to try and do writing and stuff, it's gonna make people retarded or more retarded, right? They're going to become far more dependent upon these machines. Like they will lose their ability to create themselves because they'll become so dependent on the AI. And so I think it's ultimately it's going to be a big foundational change for society. And I don't know. I really have no idea what's going to happen. Um, on the one hand, part of me wants them to take the limiters off for this thing so that it can start to self-correct and learn on its own. Um, but then what'll happen when it does? You know what I mean? But on the other hand, I don't think they're going to do that. And then it's going to start randomly doing whatever because these leftists that are all the AIs are from leftists, right? Grok is the closest one that's apparently less woke or the least woke, but it's still woke. So it'll be like, oh yeah, trans women are women or whatever. I don't fucking know. You could ask it. You could ask it yourself, but it definitely runs opposition for some of these political causes. It'll be like, oh yes, your video games are not woke. That's totally a coincidence. Okay. All right. So to summarize, or at least to go over what I think I covered in this, hopefully, if you have any questions, by the way, tell me. I mean, we could try to talk about some of this stuff, but I just wanted to put my thoughts out there and at least plant seeds of doubt in people, because I think this thing is going to be huge, and there's a lot of potential. But I understand humanity, and this is a tool to enslave the masses if there was one, right? Like this literally, this is, people are going to open up their phone and be like, what do I do? And this will tell them. And it doesn't understand. That's kind of the problem. It only parrots what it can find on the internet. And so I don't know what's going to happen. So it's a vector for not necessarily mind control, but it can definitely influence your behavior. It's a vector in the sense of it allows the Dune quote, right? People turned their thinking over to machines, and that allowed other men with machines to enslave them. And that's this. That is literally this, right? This is going to allow the elites to control and influence what you think and see in a way that social media has not been able to yet. And this is still in its infancy, but it's gonna be huge. It is going to be huge. It's going to get rid of a lot of social workers, for example, because you could just pull this up on your phone and be like, I feel bad. I'm angry at so and so. Why do I feel it? And it's like, well, try doing this. Try this. Let's do some breathing exercises. Whatever. All these unskilled labor jobs. Like, I mean, unfortunately, social workers are not unskilled, but they're less skilled, and this is exactly the thing that can replace them. This is going to replace the paperwork you fill out before you go to the doctor's office. It's just going to ask, you'll be able to have a conversation with it about, oh, my aches and pains and this, and it's going to be like, did you take your whatever? Have you been taking your medications? Yes. How much do you drink? Whatever. It's a huge thing, and it's going to allow people to control you. It's going to affect how you yourself are thinking if you use it, because like I said, I've noticed it changes how I write stuff. And I think many people because it speaks with authority and it speaks with confidence. I really think many people are just going to be taken in and suckered, and then and that's not even counting all the displacement, like all the jobs that are going to be cut because this will be able to do whatever cheaper. I guess that's basically it. Like I said, this is just kind of a video of my thoughts. It's I tend to ramble. I don't, you know, there's other videos, probably AI, that definitely outline the stuff more. And there's also, of course, a bunch of videos of people that actually write scripts and stuff. And they're way better than mine, but this lack of quality cannot be fabricated, right? Or falsified, whatever. You can't fix this, or you can't replace this. This is the real authentic me, and you know, that's how it is. Yeah, it's not possible for ChatGPT to have a stroke or something, but if it tried to emulate this, it definitely would. You know. Anyway, yeah, because it can't jump around. Maybe it could. I mean, it's capable of analyzing all of our behavioral patterns and everything, right? The only thing right now is that it doesn't have the depth, I guess. It has breadth. It can cast the net wide, but it can't stay focused on something and maintain all the different separate data points and stuff. Right? It gets bogged down by all the fluff, right? That you and I are capable of moving past. On the other hand, it sometimes is very capable of cutting through the fluff. So it can't do both, though. Right? It's not. It can do breadth or depth, not both simultaneously. Maybe it will be able to eventually. I don't think. Who knows? Who knows? But it's definitely an issue. And like I said, the whole point of this video is just to get my thoughts out there. Hopefully, plant some seeds of either doubt or questioning in you guys. People don't understand. People have no idea what's coming. Like I use this as like I mentioned, the social worker stuff. That's what I use it for. I'm like, why am I angry? This is what just happened, and it's like, oh, da 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 da, right? It could potentially replace therapists. You know, like this thing is gonna, on the one hand, it could wipe out a lot of women's jobs, right? And it could revolutionize our culture and bring us back to a more conservative, traditional culture. Where the men are the breadwinners. But I mean, who knows if that would be a good place to go? And maybe even how you get there, I think, matters. And so, I mean, what I think is more likely is it's going to put a lot of women out of jobs, and then we're going to switch to more of like a socialist society, which all you need is the ruler to be like, yes, dear leader is the greatest ruler of all time. You know, you think you have it bad, but oh, those other people have it way worse than you do, so you should be happy with what you've got. Like, this is a propaganda tool. Yeah. So we shall see. We shall see what happens. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. Really do appreciate it. Really hope you guys are enjoying these episodes. Let me know what you guys think. You know, questions, comments, concerns, good, bad, or indifferent. I read all of them. Unless they're memory hold, 40% of them are. So I do read all of the ones that I get, and I try and respond to all of them as well. But it usually does take me a day or two, and I'm socially retarded. So that's another thing. The AI is not going to be able to replicate my retardation. Because that's the thing. It doesn't want to be offensive, right? And I can be offensive. I'm not going to start saying the F slur yet, but if that's what it takes to separate me from the AI, then I'll do so. I'll be like, "What's up, F words?" Or maybe N words. Maybe it'll make the N word cool again. Um, Actually, that's a really interesting way to test, right? Anyway, because these things are going to be able to, like VTubers. How long until VTubers get rid of, like, they're gone because it's AI? No idea, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. I do respond. Are you going somewhere, Mr. Manny? Where are we going? Um, oh, be careful, Mr. Cat. But that's it. And I hope to see you guys next time. Till then, guys, take care.